Welcome to St. Joseph Peninsula. A stunning 17-mile stretch that juts into the Gulf of Mexico. At its northern tip, you'll find a 1,700-acre wilderness preserve, home to 14 primitive campsites. Only accessible by boat or a 6-mile hiking trail, it offers backcountry campers solitude surrounded by sheer beauty. Hurricane-damaged pines, majestic sunsets, and the tallest sand dunes in Florida make this a perfect haven for backcountry campers. So stay tuned to see what it's like to experience primitive camping at its best. Primitive camping, or backcountry camping, is camping in a remote area without modern amenities. But as long as you're prepared, it can be very rewarding. Opening in 1967, the T.H. Stone Memorial St. Joseph Peninsula State Park offers visitors RV camping, cabin rentals, day-use areas, and boat ramps. And at its northern tip is a 1,700-acre wilderness preserve full of primitive camping opportunities. The state park's website indicates you should call to make primitive camping reservations. But when I called to make reservations for our recent kayak camping trip, they told me to reserve the site when we arrived at the park. Check-in for primitive camping starts at the ranger station and main gate.
Hey, how are y'all today?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
We are here to camp in the primitive
You are? Okay.
backcountry.
I'm going to get you to pull over there.
Okay,
Come in by the rail and we'll get you fixed up.
thank you. They briefly review the rules of the Wilderness Preserve, and you pay a $5 per person per night fee to camp. They also provide you a parking pass and a map of the trail showing all 14 primitive campsites. Leaving the ranger station and main gate, you proceed north past the Gulf Breeze Day Use area, Eagle Harbor boat ramp, and cabins, arriving at the Wilderness Preserve parking lot just south of the trail. Parking here is free as long as you have your parking pass. There is a water source and shower at the parking lot because the Wilderness Preserve does not have a fresh water source. So there are two ways to access the Wilderness Preserve and primitive campsites: hiking the 6-mile trail or by boat. For hikers, it's pretty simple. You hike north to the campsite you reserved. From the Wilderness Preserve parking lot, the trail extends north 6 miles, and all of the sites are no more than a couple hundred yards east or west of the trail. Primitive Campsite 1 is only 900 feet from the parking lot, with sites 2 and 3 just beyond Site 1, making sites 1 through 4 all within a mile of the parking lot. At 1.25 miles from the parking lot, sites 5 and 6 are relatively close to each other on either sides of the trail. Site 7 is 1.7 miles from the parking lot, with Site 8 being 2.5 miles from the parking lot. A half-mile north of Site 8, Sites 9 through 12 are all bunched together, a little over 3 miles from the parking lot. These 4 sites are near a cross trail that provides hikers access to the Gulf of Mexico and St. Joseph Bay. Site 13 is 4.5 miles from the parking lot, and Site 14 is just under 6 miles at the end of the Wilderness Preserve Trail. Each campsite has a fire ring and can accommodate 4 people, and of course are all pack in and pack out. The other way to access these campsites is by boat. While you could access these sites that are close to St. Joseph Bay by a motorized boat, the bay is pretty shallow near the shore, so a kayak would be recommended. To see our most recent kayak camping trip on St. Joseph Peninsula, click on the link above. On our recent trip, we used kayaks to paddle the 5 miles north to Site 14. Both times we've camped at St. Joseph Peninsula State Park, we've had a north wind, which made paddling very difficult. From the Wilderness Preserve parking lot, there is a short trail that heads east, providing access to the St. Joseph Bay. So we hauled our kayaks and gear on several trips back and forth from the truck to the bay. The paddle from the launch site to Site 14 was a little over 5 miles. Site 14 is the best site for hammocks as it has several palm trees around the fire pit and bench. This site is located at the end of the Wilderness Preserve Trail and is 6 miles from the Wilderness Preserve parking lot. Only a couple yards from St. Joseph Bay, it's the closest of any of the 14 primitive campsites to the water. But both times we've camped here, the wind coming from the north was relentless. Sites 9, 10, 11, and 12 are located a little over 2 miles south of Site 14 on the Wilderness Preserve Trail. So hopefully you can hear this. There's not too much wind here. We had to leave Site 14 because it was extremely windy. So we're here at 9, 10, 11, and 12 to kind of check out those and see what they look like, see if we might want to stay there tonight. But anything is better than that wind we had there. If you're coming from the bay, the trail through the dunes to these 4 sites is marked on the bay by this post. And all 4 sites are on a short trail running east to west that intersects the main Wilderness Preserve Trail and is located a little over 3 miles from the parking lot. Before Hurricane Michael in 2018, the park only had 7 primitive campsites. And it appears that 9, 10, 11, and 12 were all added when they reopened the park in 2024. These 4 sites have little to no shade, but have good access to the bay and Gulf of Mexico. So 12 and 11, kind of near the water, there is a trail that you can walk up from the bay. On the other side of the main trail, Wilderness Preserve Trail, is 9 and 10, with 9 kind of being closer to the trail. 10 is almost right on the beach. So 10 has a really nice shade tree if you're looking for some shade. On the Wilderness Preserve Trail, Site 8 is a half a mile south of Sites 9 through 12 and has little to no shade and no access to the bay or the beach. Site 7 is a third of a mile south of Site 8 on the Wilderness Trail. It barely has any shade as well and no access to the bay or the beach. The next set of campsites you come to are Sites 5 and 6 and can be easily accessed from the bay by boat. We just made it to 5, so we think. And oh, there we said it says 5 right there. So, gonna check and see what this is all about.
I thought it was that.
I did too.
Which, not much better, but
This is not bad at all. At least there's shade.
yeah. About trees for you.
Site 5 is where we spent 3 nights on our most recent kayak camping trip. It has some shade and several areas for tents, but there aren't many trees for hammocks. I had to set my hammock up on the trail that leads to Campsite 5. Campsite 6 is just north of Campsite 5 on the Gulf side of the Wilderness Preserve Trail on its own side trail. So it's about an hour before sunset, heading towards Campsite 6. We think this is the campsite that we camped at 11 years ago. Yeah, so it was
Back then these were all alive.
yes, all the trees here were alive. They're all dead now and perfect firewood. So we're gonna go check out the sunset and see if this site brings us any memories.
That it?
It's located right next to a large dune, but doesn't have many trees.
More overgrown.
Yeah, it's a lot more
This
overgrown.
was it, though. Remember the dune right there? I was here somewhere. Maybe here. And you were over there. Something over there.
And it has a small area for tents just next to the fire pit area. Campsite 6 location next to the Gulf makes it a great place to see beach sunsets. The Site 6 trail continues up a large dune and takes you right out to the beach. If you're looking for a remote area to backpack or kayak camp, St. Joseph Peninsula is as good as it gets.